Earlier this month, GameSpot flew to Warsaw, Poland to check out Frostpunk 2's story mode. While Frostpunk 2 may look similar to the first, 11-Bit Studios is taking a very different approach to the sequel. So we sat down with co-director Jakub Stokalski to break down all of the biggest changes.
The Frostpunk is a world frozen over. It's set in the first Frostpunk 1 was set in the 19th century. Frostpunk 2 is set at the beginning of the 20th century. So it's basically steampunk / dieselpunk world in which you have to manage a city engulfed by eternal winter. And you have to make sure that the city and its people survive. The scale changed, and that's I guess that's the roots and the reason for everything else that changed in the game, because we wanted to tell a different story. The world froze in Frostpunk 1, and you survived the end of the world, and that was the story of Frostpunk 1. The story of Frostpunk 2 is what is the type of world you want to try to build out of the ashes, or I guess in this case, snows of Frostpunk 1. So with that type of story, we needed for the scale to change. And with that came different city building mechanics, different society depiction, and also obviously the main and the core system of the game, which is the council, which now helps you co-manage the city. The days of the authority of the captains of Frostpunk 1 are gone. And now the communities of the city that you take stewardship of want a say in how it's run. And for this purpose, you build a council. It's a building where 100 delegates from all of the different communities in your city are represented, and they vote on the laws that you propose, or they might even propose laws themselves if you allow them to. So every law that you make and every decision that you try to pass there is going to be this balancing act of ensuring support, maybe through negotiations, or maybe through pressuring or other less, let's say, delicate means of making sure you get your way. Okay, so story is about the story, the legacy of New London, right? So you might expect one of the core communities that you'll be playing with is the New Londoners. These are the city-dwelling people who you control mostly in Frostpunk 1, and they are the ones that believe their survival is thanks to the generator, thanks to technology, thanks to their own ingenuity. But the other community that comes with them are the Frostlanders. They also hail from New London, but they are the ones who went out into the outposts as you played your game, and after the game ended. They tried to colonizing, setting up different outposts, maybe Outpost 11, if you've played On the Edge DLC to Frostpunk 1. But as they did try to expand, the whiteouts, the storms, and the harsh environments ultimately forced them all to come back. But this ordeal shaped them. They are now different from New Londoners because they believe more in adaptation rather than tying themselves to technology. And obviously, there are the two starting factions that you play with are depending on your choice in Frostpunk 1. They are either the Faithkeepers, who are the legacy of the Faith choice from Frostpunk 1, or the Stalwarts, who are the legacy of the Order path. And there are two more factions that form in response to both the Faithkeepers and the Stalwarts, which maybe I'll be able to spoil in the different moments. Well, definitely a lot has changed again because of the reasons of the scale. So for instance, the city building has changed a lot, right? You're no longer building single buildings. You're actually creating whole districts that you can then specialize with buildings that you have to research. There are also hubs that enable you to create proximity-based bonuses. And this whole planning of the city is really a balancing act of what do you build to ensure that you get new resources for your city, but at the same time making sure that you do not build too much, that you do not get too much demand of the resources to supply all of the districts that you build. Specializing your district with different buildings, with choosing different strategies, and making sure that the layout of the city is optimal and thought out well, to ensure you get as much bonus from proximity of different districts and hubs as much as possible. So like the basic one, for instance, is the housing district. Obviously, you need people to have shelter, and especially in a world like Frostpunk. So that's the basic part of your city. But obviously, you can specialize it in different ways. You can actually build, for instance, purification plants in there to ensure that you fight off squalor. Or you might choose to build a research institute there to ensure that you get even more research speed out of your city. Another example could be your industrial district, right, which produces goods for your population, but you can specialize it to produce difference in different ways and of different kinds to treat it most to your strategy. Well, I guess we did not leave a stone unturned while making this game. The tone and the artistic difference is really about making switching from this fight for survival into still pressure of the cold and of the frozen world. So it's still very much possible to just mismanage yourself into frozen oblivion, but at the same time to building this story about people, different people wanting a different future for themselves. So it is about showing very different kinds of people in different situations, and also pulling the camera out and showing you the dream of a future rather than the harsh nightmare of survival. Right, so this change of scale is really needed by the vision of the game, right? If we want to build a game about societies trying to build a future for themselves in this harsh world, fighting for survival, but fighting also for something more, for some hope for the future, then we really needed these changes of scale. And really, when you play the game and you see that these different factions pulling in their own directions, you can support different playstyle, different strategies, and different research choices. And if you go far enough, you can see that every faction has a vision that ends in something they would call a utopia, right? A set of ultimate technologies, ultimate laws that for them is the ideal world. Obviously, the trick is, as you might guess from the name Utopia, every utopia ends up being a dystopia for someone else. And the core meaning of the game really lies in you trying to navigate these different visions and trying to find your way through it that builds a society and a city that you as a player, as a leader, and as a human being are comfortable with. Right, so we try to, there's actually a very hard point we make sure we never do, is we never make gratuitous design choices. In the sense, like there's never a good argument to include something just because it has, shock value, right? This is road to nowhere. It basically has very short legs. It does not really support the type of engaging and inhuman really content that we're trying to make. The devil lies in the fact that at every step, we try to include you as a player and your values, your worldview, your outlook into the game system itself, right? So do you prefer to, make this harsh choice maybe something that should be borderline unethical if there is a large group that would benefit from it, right? If you have a group of elders willing to sacrifice themselves for the benefit of the whole community, is it something that you would allow, or would you try to avoid it? Because that's another angle. It's always about your agency. You can try to avoid it. And it's not the game is not cheating you and ham-fisting you into making make one bad choice or the other bad choice. There is a way for you. It's really about you negotiating with your own values that makes these choices land.